Welcome here to a Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora special, spotlighting once again Union-Endicott and the Tigers. We're here with head coach Tom Baleno of the football team that is vying for a Class A state title. They've already won their sectional title in Section 4 for Class A and have moved on from the regionals, which were up at CNS, went back home to Union-Endicott, where they got to host the semis and are now heading back up to Syracuse area into the Dome with an opportunity at a state championship. We are inside of these Cafe Cubal studios on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, and 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse in a drive-through location, and on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius. Make sure that you make a note here that the holiday blend is available for a short amount of time. Get one for you and somebody that you love, and we look forward to having you support local. Mr. Baleno, you and I have talked throughout the season. We've spent a couple years together. I am very happy we started to sit down and have powwows last year, and I wish we did it sooner. We crossed paths when we did, and I'm happy that we did. And since we've crossed paths, you guys have been really successful. I take none of the credit for that. And I'm very, very happy to congratulate you once again on advancing to a state title. I am so proud of Union-Endicott, the student athletes, the coaching staff, the community, and of you. So with that being said, welcome back to the show.
Well, it's great to be back. I'm always surprised every time I'm on here, that mouthful that you throw out there at the beginning with all the accolades to all the local businesses. So I don't know how you do it and not mess it up. I mean, it's always crisp and clear, and no stuttering or anything like that. So it's amazing. That's amazing to me. So
thank you. I appreciate it. I always look at my guest when I'm doing it. I don't know if you could tell, but I look over at you a couple of times to see if you're smirking, if you're thinking about it, because I have nothing. There's no sticky notes. There's nothing written down. I'm not like grabbing the phone, looking at the phone. Like, this is all up in the noggin. And if at any point, like once a year, I like stumble on a number or something like that, I'm like, man, I got to get that right. So I always joke too that I'm going to have my guests do it at the end. So whatever I say to start it off, you're going to do it.
Not this guy. I can't do this at the end. But
as long as you remember, Kathy, go ahead.
I do remember the first time you said how we were crossing paths, and that was with Sonny Spira, and I just happened to see him last week. So it was great. I think the last time I saw him was probably like 2 years ago when I was with you. So It was great to bump into him again. So it's good to see those old faces.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, going back to the intro part of things, as long as you remember Cafe Cubal, that's all you need to remember. Right. So as long as you keep that with it, you remember my name, the name of the show, Wake Up Call. I said to my dad, I was like, there's a strategic placement. There's no other show in the world that has its own button at a hotel. So I'm always getting you to think about the Wake Up Call stuff. So
all right, there you go. That's right.
Smart. Now we got to get a Union-Endicott button somewhere. Get a little tiger that they can hit. Have it growl. So speaking of the growl of this team, why this season has it just all come together? What is it about? I mean, I know that you've made your way through sectionals. I know that you've made a push in states before, but why is this team doing what they're doing right now?
Well, obviously we have some good athletes. So we have some good athletes in some key positions. Our quarterback's a good player. Our running back's a good player. We have a fantastic wide receiver. We have a great slot guy. A tremendous kind of role players too. So I mean, you have to have the horses. I don't know any jockey who wins a race, with his own 2 feet, right? So you have to have the horses. And we have the horses, but I think a bigger thing is, looking at us, I knew we had our skill positions were good. We're very good, even say great. But, our line was, not the biggest or not the strongest. Our defense was, not the biggest, not the strongest. But they just play with a lot of heart and a lot of passion, and they really play for each other. And it's a cliche, and you hear everyone talk about it, but we have a good team chemistry. They really love one another. They play for one another. They enjoy it. They have fun with it. They're unselfish. They're happy when their teammates have success, and that's a big part of it. So they're really buying into kind of what I believe football should be about. And it's not really because I'm a salesman, because I'm certainly not one of them. I just speak from the heart, and I think that it just really radiates with this group, and good things are happening to us. So, I always say positive things happen to positive people, and we stay positive. We learn from our mistakes, and we try not to repeat them, and we don't want to let the other guy down. So I think that's what's special about this group.
And you talk about not wanting to let the other guy down. You can try and guide people being personally responsible. You can try and teach different things like humility and whatnot, but it has to be implemented by the team. Why do these young men put aside me for we?
Well, that's a great question, especially in a very narcissistic, kind of like self-centered world that we're creating. With our Facebook, and really, get your face out of Facebook and put it somewhere else. So that's a battle that we really have to fight as people who see what the damage that it can really do by just being so self-centered. So sacrifice is a word that we talk about, and a true love is sacrifice, is giving part of yourself. So I say this multiple times to my colleagues, or to my um, other coaches, to even some of my players. But I was like, I can say I love my wife, but do I love my wife because why? Because she cooks for me, because she does my laundry, because she watches the kids when I'm at practice. Well, that's not really quite love, right? Until I have to give something up of myself, then you really kind of, what really love is. And I guess one of the best ways of doing that is, if you don't have children, then taking care of a parent, an elderly parent, where you're because it's not fun and it's not easy, and you have to sacrifice your day to be inconvenienced, right?
Yeah.
Or if you do have children, then you're putting aside of the things that you want to do to kind of nurture and care for them. So that's just something that we really instill, or I really try to instill, and my coaching staff tries to instill in these guys, that life's not easy, and you have to make sacrifices for the greater good, for the team, or for yourself, or someone that's important to you. So those are the messages that we try to preach, and those are the life lessons that football gives you. That's more important about playing in the dome and winning a state championship. I can't judge my success just on that, because if we're fortunate, we will win, this Saturday. And everyone will say how successful I am, but I was also successful last year and the year before, working with, some of these same kids that were buying into it back then, and becoming young men that are of character, who take care of, their siblings at home, or taking care of an aunt or an uncle, or whatnot.
Yeah, and very well said. We always talk about the philosophical, bigger things and faith-filled things when you and I are here. Not purpose, not on purpose. It's not like we say, hey, before the show, we're going to talk about this, this, and this. But you and I always end up having those deeper conversations that make me believe that if and when I run for president, I'm going to have to put you in some part of my cabinet. So, and if I run, I can promise you, I'm going to expose a lot of things, and I'm going to be very honest. But I was like, I'm not even doing it to win. I'm just doing it to help the country. But, you brought up the fact of when you have kids, that you make sacrifices. And if not that, when you take care of an elderly parent, and you bring to mind something that I think is a really beautiful thing, and I want to commend you for it, is, I had the opportunity to take care of one of the people that raised me, and my grandmother and I, 69 years apart. And she took care of me my whole life. And she said to me toward the end of her life, she said, "Are you my son?" And I said, "Yeah, pretty much." I said, I love my parents, and an extension of that, I've had incredible grandparents, and I had the opportunity to live with her for 2 years and take care of her. And do you feel like you're inconvenienced at times? Is it hard to date? Is it hard to get certain things done? Is it hard to travel and whatnot? And sometimes I felt like I had 3 kids, but I wouldn't change a thing about it. Best roommate I ever had. And it teaches you so many things about life, humility, the reality of life, and the fragile elements of life. And I just, you brought that up and it just hit me some kind of way, because I think if anybody has an opportunity to take care of a sibling or a parent or a grandparent or children, you really learn sacrifice, and you really learn how to care outside of yourself. And then you connected that back to a team and saying, when you learn that you are only as good as your weakest player. And if your family name is your family name, what happens when that name is tarnished by somebody, if it's held up here but it's not held up there? So it's the same thing with a team. A team that has a knucklehead on the team, they're going to be known for that knucklehead. A team that has a bunch of guys that are individualistic are going to be known for that. But a team that understands that, yeah, I want 100 yards rushing, but I can get 100 yards rushing and we could lose almost every game this season. You brought up a lot in that world, and how sacrifice makes you humble. And I just thought that was a beautiful thing. So I just wanted to hear a little bit more from you on that with this year's team, and to thank you, because from my perspective, I would have done anything for that woman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the right thing isn't always the fun thing, right? The right thing is always the easiest thing, but at the end of the day, it's the right thing. And if people are honest with themselves, they know. You feel it. Your spirit talks to you inside, and you just have to be quiet enough to listen. And when you do listen, it'll guide you in the right places. But sometimes the outside noises kind of distract us and we go in the wrong direction. So, and that's another point that I try to make to my players, about living in the moment, right? So don't let the outside distractions distract you. Live in the moment. Do the right things in the moment, right? Take advantage of the opportunity that you have in front of you, no matter what it is. If it's spending that time with the grandmother, or if it's spending time with brother or sister, live in that now and not have your head somewhere else. Give yourself, give that moment, give that other person a little bit of yourself, a little bit of respect by actually being present, not just by physically being there, but being completely present. And sometimes that's difficult to do when you have a mini computer in your pocket and you're always texting and doing things like that. You kind of get involved in that, and you're not fully there for the person you're with.
That coming from Tom Baleno, the head football coach with Union-Endicott. The Tigers are moving on to the state title game, which is this weekend for them. It's going to be on Saturday, December 3rd. Games on Saturday, December 3rd, and Sunday, December 4th in the Dome. And Tom, since the creation of the new playoff format, this is the first time that Union-Endicott has ever been in the state championship game in this playoff format. What that means to you historically, just to be in the game. Yes, you want to win it. Yes, you want to hoist the title, but to know that you've already made history as an institution at Union-Endicott has to feel pretty special going into it.
It is. And I feel great about it, but I mean, there's a lot of great coaches and a lot of great players, before me, so there's a lot of success at Union-Endicott for over 100 years, and I'm just a small part of that. And I'm grateful I was a product of playing for great coaches, and coaching with great coaches as well. So there's a great tradition here, and I'm proud to kind of bring the spotlight back at this level. Not because I'm, better than, my predecessors or whatnot. It's just that it just happened to be this year, and I happen to be the guy. And it's great that we can do this for the community. So it gets UE football. People are talking about UE football a little bit more this year than they did last year or the previous years. So, and that's a good thing, because the UE community loves their football and they love to talk about it. And I'm just grateful to be a part of it and happen to lead them this year.
And when you go back and you look at when this all came to fruition, I believe it was the day after tax day, April 16th, 2013, around that time period, a little over 9 years ago, you were named the head coach at Union-Endicott. What do you remember about that day? And what do you want to say to yourself if you could go back in time? So what do you remember about being hired in 2013? And then if you could go back in time as you today and talk to yourself in 2013, what would you say?
Well, being hired, I remember I couldn't believe it. I was never really thought I was going to be the head coach. I mean, that wasn't really my goal at first. And it wasn't something that I thought if you told me I was going to end up teaching at my old alma mater, I'd say, what's the odds of that? I'm an art teacher, went to school in Buffalo. What's the chance of a position is going to open up in my school? And I get it, right? And then boom, I get hired there. And then it's like, well, maybe I'll help out, with the football program. And I would just love to be, a positions coach, maybe on the JV level. And that's what I started in 2005. And I did the JVs, and then quickly after that, now I'm on the varsity, and I'm the defensive coordinator. Already something bigger than I ever dreamt of, or and I could not believe that. And then this opportunity, opened up to be the head coach, and I jumped on it reluctantly because I know my weaknesses, and one of my weaknesses is leading men, really, not leading students, right, and young adults, but being ahead of a whole program, leading adults. I don't really have that type of experience, and I figured, the only way you can really grow is to put yourself in situations where you're uncomfortable. So I took some of my own advice that I give to my players, and I put myself in an uncomfortable situation to try to, lead other coaches, lead my peers. And it was difficult really at first. And that was probably something I would tell my old self, from, if I go back in the past, then, enjoy the ride, keep on doing what you do. I'm always kind of like a people person, kind of, pleaser. I don't like to say no to people, and I think that's just in my nature. And I don't like to hurt anyone's feelings. And I would probably tell my old self, sometimes you're going to have those hard conversations. And I've been learning how to do that much better. And I have those hard conversations when needed. But I think the vision that I'm putting together with this program is something that my staff and my players and the community are really buying into. And I don't really need to have those hard conversations that much anymore. So it's nice, when you're the new guy, it's always difficult. And I've been doing it for about 10 years now as the head guy, and things are getting a little bit easier, because I'm establishing myself a little bit more.
Tom Baleno here, Union-Endicott Tigers head football coach on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as they head to the state championship game. First ever for Union-Endicott in the playoff format as it's been created over the years here to be what it is today. So Class A championship will have Section 4 up against Section 1, and appreciate those words of what you said. Before we get into the game itself, Tom, you said that you didn't see yourself as a leader of men to have an entire team under you. 9 years later, do you see yourself as a leader of men?
Well, I think so. I think I try to lead multiple ways. Sometimes through example to my other coaches, sometimes through just talking to them. And I think the best way to really lead is just building relationships. So I think, establishing relationships with other adults, knowing that, they can trust you and you can trust them, and you can talk openly, and you may disagree, but we could, figure out a way to navigate through our disagreements. That's just kind of a growing process that, it's, you have to work at it. You have to work at it. It always just didn't really come easy and naturally to me. I never, needed to have that title or that attention. I just like, coaching my position, doing what I do, and not talking to the press and getting quoted in the paper. I don't really need that. So I never needed that, but I just found myself getting more comfortable doing it. Yeah.
And here we are today, knowing that this weekend, Saturday, December 3rd, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time in the Dome, you're going up against the Section 1 champ and in Class A. Just what you could say about who you're going up against and what you can tell me about what you've seen of them on paper, and kind of the irony that Section 4 going up against Section 1 is happening in more than one class this year.
Well, seeing our opponent on tape is good. I mean, they're a good program. They're a good school. They were there last year, so they're in the championship last year. Played against CBA and won, lost right at the end. So I mean, we lost to CBA in the first round. So they've been there before. They have that experience. So that's something that this is going to be new to us, and they have a little bit of advantage that because they've been there, right? But they're, other than that, they're very similar to us. They have a very explosive offense. They have some skill guys that could really really hurt you if you make mistakes offensively and defensively. So we're pretty much a mirror image of one another. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. It'll be a great game to coach.
And looking at Summers, just what, like you said, it's a mirror image, very similar. How do you play a game when you feel like you're looking at yourself on the other side of the field?
I think the key is really just trying to limit your mistakes. And I always say it's really never about them. It's always about us, right? So we just have to limit our mistakes. And when they make mistakes, we have to take advantage of them. So I think two good teams playing against one another, it's the team that makes the least amount of mistakes will, come out with the victory.
And we've seen you in the playoffs here this season capitalize on mistakes and blunders in huge ways and turning those into 6 for the defense. What you could say about not only gaining the takeaways, but the big plays that have come off of them, just what you want to give to your defense, and knowing that, obviously you expect your offense to score, go out there, put points up, but your defense has made some hay scoring the ball as well, especially recently.
I think our team really, takes a reflection on, the coaching staff and myself. So we're just aggressive by nature. So I'm an optimistic guy. So I always have been. I think I told you that before. So that's why I don't gamble, because every hand's a winner, So,
yeah.
But so we're aggressive by nature, and that's just the way that I've always been. And I kind of think my team kind of gets that energy, kind of from our staff. So when we get the opportunity, I guess, it's like we're like, sharks, blood in the water, I guess. I don't know, whatever you want to say. We try to take advantage of that. So it makes it fun. It makes it fun for the players, and it's exciting, and I think it does us well, because, like I said, our guys do their job, and good things happen when you do your job, and it's okay when other people get credit and play unselfish football, and opportunities will pop up.
The game that you were talking to me about, the state semi game, where you said we're playing at home, but we're not necessarily the home team, being on your home field and having that sense of normalcy, right? And being able to come onto your own, be in the facilities of your own. There's something about being in a locker room, and something about being on the field and just looking around and knowing all of that familiarity. Did that play a huge part in the game, in your opinion? And then bring me into the Hilton game where you won 28-14, were able to double up their points and get out of that one. Just what it was like to host it, how much of that you think played into the game, and just what you think maybe were the best pieces of that Hilton win.
Well, it was nice playing at home, really, for the community. So for them to see us, we travel really well, our fans, but it was just nice to play at home for that. And more importantly, it was nice to play for the seniors. There's not too many opportunities where you can play at that stage and still be playing at home. So it was great for the seniors to know that this is the last time to play at Ty Cobb Stadium, and they they really embraced that and wanted to, give it their all. So that helped us out. Being, you know, being there for the facilities and things like that, probably not so much, So we started our season off with our first 4 games, on the road because they were doing some construction in our bleachers. So we were getting used to going on the road, going to some long trips to like Monroe Woodbury. So we like wearing our white jerseys, and we're wearing them again, last week and this week. So, we don't really mind that. But it was nice to kind of have a nice send off for the seniors, at home.
And in that game against Hilton, your biggest takeaways on what your team is currently doing at this point that you feel can be an assist in a game where, like you said, you're going to have an opponent that mirror images you. What did you take away from this Hilton game that you can really hone in on and build off of and say, okay, hey, this could grant us some momentum moving forward?
Well, I mean, Hilton was a very powerful kind of big, kind of in your face, smash you, run the ball, offense. And it was nice to go against something like that where and see how we could withstand kind of like physical play. So we were able to kind of like match that. And then, the week prior, we played against West Jenny, which had some extremely quick athletes that were zipping around the field. So it was good to see if we were able to, run with the cheetahs, really. So those 2 games are a great preparation for this Sumner team because they have both. They have the big guys, and they also have those really fast guys. So I think our 2 games leading up into this kind of helped prepare us for that. So it's going to be interesting. So it's just one more challenge that we have to face, and really at the end of the day, we just have to give great effort. And after we give great effort, then we'll be able to live with the result.
This moment coming up here, history being made for Union-Endicott in the current playoff format, this being their first trip to the New York State title for Class A. But I know that Tom Baleno and this team are not satisfied. And Saturday night, we'll hope that they'll be hoisting a trophy and bringing some hardware home for Union-Endicott and this Tigers community. Tom, final note here from you about the run that you've had this year, the work that has gone in. We all know that the work goes in well before this season. It goes in years, prior to leading up to this, when you're seeing these kids come up and be on JV and make it to varsity. There's a lot of systematic things that have to happen, dominoes that have to fall. It doesn't just happen over a series of a few games. So when you look at the maturation process of this team, what are you most proud of? And what kind of sticks with you as you get ready to step into the dome?
With this team, at the end of the day, you'll look at the record and you'll look at the different types of championships we've won with this team. But really, what sticks with me is they just really love the play. I mean, they love the play. They're always loose. They're always having fun. They enjoy being out there in practice. They enjoy playing the game. So that's something I'll remember, and I want to carry on, in the future with, in coaching, to make sure that it's still fun. Like, you don't want it to be a job for 17-year-old kids. Don't look at it as a job. Look at it as going out, playing with your friends like you did when you're 10. So, and I think that's something that, I also need to remind my coaches as well, right? Like, let's have fun with this. Let's enjoy the moment. Let's have fun. And, where we only go around this world so many years. And then, we want to look back at it and not say, oh, this was just all business, and look at all these moments that you were, you missed out on the opportunity to smile over it. So we just want to go out there and smile and have fun.
That coming from Tom Baleno, Union-Endicott Tigers head football coach. Their state championship game happens this weekend, Saturday, December 3rd at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, inside of the Dome in Syracuse, New York, against Section 1 Summers, and we have Section 4 Union-Endicott. Tom, as always, I appreciate talking to you about football, and more so, I appreciate talking to you about the bigger things in life. And I can honestly tell you they go hand in hand. Hence why Wake Up Call's tagline is where sports meets life. And I don't know if you know this, but you always inspire me every time we talk. So thank you for that too.
Well, I appreciate that. I enjoy talking to you too.